Is there supposed to be a certain protocol for people to check in?
No, and I begin with me, and then he can speak, and they can speak for the other generation. But never, you know what I mean? We don't have time for no sucker shit like that.
Yo, things just got real. 50 Cent didn't just spark another rap beef. He might have just cracked open a whole underground war that's been hiding in plain sight. What he just dropped? It ain't your usual back and forth. This drama with Jay Prince and Supreme McGriff's circle, it runs deep, way deeper than music or bruised egos. 50's not playing around anymore. He's saying straight up, there was a real plan to get him out of here. We're talking life or death moves. And guess what? He's naming names. Now here's the bomb. Word is, even Supreme's own son might have been tangled up in this. Yeah, you heard that right. And if that wasn't wild enough, Rick Ross's name just slid into the mix too.
Know the reason, but what is the reason why you moved to Houston?
Well, look, first of all, like every time I've experienced Houston, like when I was out here, I ran into random acts of kindness. Like the people have been good to me. You know what I'm saying? So it's one of the places that I'm like, man, or maybe Houston, like Houston or Miami popped into my head. Mm-hmm. That's your 58%. I said, what? You my partner? The IRS is my partner now? Oh no. All you get is a Yankee hat? I'm going to Houston.
Could he have linked up with 50's old enemies to keep the tension brewing? That's the kind of messy that could set the whole scene on fire. 50's out here connecting dots. Jay Prince, Supreme's legacy, shadowy deals behind closed doors. It's all adding up to something way darker than anyone expected. Could this be why 50 suddenly backed away from Houston? Was there a real threat lurking in the background? Let's run it back for a second. Everything kicked off in Houston, Jay Prince's stronghold. He runs that city like a boss, no question. When rappers touch down, they're expected to check in, show some respect. But to many, it don't sit right. It feels more like a quiet warning. Play by the rules or catch some heat. And the crazy part? Even some who did check in still ended up in trouble. When 50 Cent made that bold move to Houston, Jay Prince expected him to fall in line. But nah, 50 wasn't playing that game. He flat out refused to check in, didn't care who ran the block, said he didn't know anybody and didn't owe nobody nothing. He's got his own team, his own money, and he ain't about to bow down to some unwritten street code. That move? Total disrespect in Jay Prince's world. And here's the twist. 50 wasn't just passing through. He relocated, made it official on Twitter like, I love New York, but I live in Houston now. Most people figured it was just for that sweet Texas tax break. And sure, that checks out. But now, it's looking like this whole move had way more layers. Yeah, New York taxes are insane, and 50's always been about stacking that paper. But this was deeper. He had a whole blueprint in motion. We're talking about building a $20 million G-Unit stronghold in the South, movies, music studios, liquor partnerships, and even helping out local schools and communities. He was setting up a whole kingdom.
There's supposed to be a certain protocol for people to check in?
No, and I begin with me, and then he can speak, and they can speak for the other generation. But never, you know what I mean? We don't have time for no sucker shit like that.
But here's where the smoke started rising. He was planting all that right in Jay Prince's backyard and didn't check in once. No heads up, no salute, no nod to the city's power players. To some, that looked like a straight-up power move, almost a challenge. And when someone rolls in that bold, the streets notice. Fast! The rumors started spinning almost overnight. Word was, doors were getting slammed on him behind the scenes. People whispered that he was being watched heavy. Some said crews were just waiting for that one wrong move, itching to make something happen. But 50, he didn't flinch, not one bit. Instead, he doubled down. In his eyes, all that check-in talk was just a slick way to dress up extortion. And real talk, he might not be wrong. Look at the receipts. Takeoff checked in and still didn't make it home. Jacob the jeweler, pressured. CC's Temptation tried to stay low, still got caught slipping. So 50's thinking, why pay for protection that clearly can't protect? All smoke and mirrors, a fake sense of safety wrapped up in fear tactics. And if you know anything about 50's past, he don't scare easy. He's seen it all. So when he starts calling out the game, you know he sees through the BS. Then, out of nowhere, the energy started shifting. Real quiet, no headlines, no big drama. 50 began pulling away from Houston. That huge studio plan? Scrapped. Everything suddenly got redirected to Shreveport, Louisiana. No press release, no farewell post, just a quiet move that spoke loud. Fans were stunned. Houston literally gave the man a key to the city. So why dip now? Why walk away when everything seemed to be falling into place? The answer came sneaky during a low-key interview. And what 50 said? It flipped the whole narrative. Houston didn't embrace me the way I expected. Boom, that one sentence hit hard. The vibe changed, the warmth was gone. And if a guy like 50 starts feeling uneasy in a city that once showed him love, you know something's not right. The wildest part? At the same time, all this was happening. Houston was still honoring him. They even made him Grand Marshal of the Thanksgiving Day Parade. So how does someone go from being celebrated in the streets to quietly packing up and vanishing? They didn't just show him love. They made it official. November 24th got stamped as 50 Cent Day in Houston. The mayor was out here giving him props. Fans were hyped, and it felt like the whole city was laying out the red carpet for him. But not everyone was clapping. Behind the scenes, word was Jay Prince wasn't just annoyed, he was fuming. From his point of view, 50 was strutting through H-Town with the crown, respect, power, spotlight, all while completely sidestepping the city's street code. No check-in, no nod, just raw, unfiltered dominance. And in Jay's world, that wasn't just about fame. That felt like a direct challenge to his grip on the streets. Like 50 was saying, I don't need your green light. That kind of move, it hits different when you've spent decades building an empire. Just when it seemed like things were cooling off, another name started buzzing again. And if you know 50's story, this name ain't some background character, it's personal. Back in the early 2000s, 50 got hit 9 times. And ever since, street whispers pointed towards Supreme's crew being involved. Around that same time, 50 dropped Ghetto Quran, a track that went deep, real deep. He started naming names, calling out legends from Queens. Supreme's name, all up in there. Now in the streets, that song wasn't seen as just music. That was labeled snitching. And Supreme, he didn't take that lightly. Not long after 50 got shot up. But he lived, thrived, and flipped that pain into platinum plaques. He told the story in songs, interviews, even films, turned his scars into a brand. Meanwhile, Supreme caught a life sentence. But he never flipped. He held it down. And in street culture, that loyalty earns respect. But just because he stayed quiet, don't mean he forgot. Nah, he remembered everything 50 did with that story. And then enters Irv Gotti, a name that ties it all together. Another major player in this twisted, decades-long war. This wasn't just some music biz connection. Irv Gotti and Supreme, they were locked in like family. When Supreme got hit with heavy legal trouble, Irv didn't fold. He showed up big, funded the fight, stayed loyal, and never snitched, never switched up. That ride or die loyalty, that's the kind of bond Supreme respected to the core. But 50?
Today, we have the honor of saying to him, he's our 2022 Grand Marshal. Give it up to Curtis 50 Jackson.
He crushed everything Irv built, brutally. He steamrolled through Murder Inc., tore the label to shreds, and dragged Ja Rule down with it. Left the whole crew picking up pieces in the aftermath. And years later, even after Irv reportedly passed from a stroke, 50 still wasn't letting up. He came back cold. He hopped online and posted a pic of himself chilling next to a fake gravestone with a hookah captioned, "I'm smoking on that Dad Gotti pack. Nay, God bless him. LOL, no filter, no sympathy, just pure heat." And get this, before Irv's death was even confirmed, when news first dropped about the stroke, 50 slid in with another icy post. Damn, I wanted him to see my new shows. Ruthless. That hit hard, and it didn't sit right with Supreme's son, McGriff Jr. He snapped on Instagram. He wasn't holding anything back. he blasted 50, saying, "If I said I was smoking on your mother and your grandfather packed, people would be screaming I'm wrong, right?" He called 50 fake, straight up clowned him, and questioned how fans could keep backing someone who disrespects the dead. To McGriff Jr., 50's shots at Irv felt like direct disrespect to his own father. That wasn't just industry beef anymore. That was personal. The line had been crossed. And now, the energy had shifted from Cold War to full-on blood feud. That's when 50 started playing a whole new game, dropping breadcrumbs all over the internet. Cryptic posts, snake emojis, cryptic talk about enemies hiding in silence and lurking in the shadows. People started asking, was he just being paranoid? Or was he really onto something? Then boom, a leak hit the net. Word got out that 50 allegedly exposed private convos between Jay Prince's camp and Supreme's son. And what was in those convos? Talk of setting 50 up, putting pressure on him, maybe even worse. And 50? He didn't stay quiet. He wanted this out in the open. He wanted the whole world to see what he was up against. And just when the streets were still trying to catch up, Rick Ross enters the chat. Now 50 and Ross, that beef goes way back. Lawsuits, disses, even family stuff dragged into it. No peace, no love. These two been locked in a Cold War for years. So when Ross got spotted kicking it with folks connected to the Supreme Circle, that wasn't some friendly link-up, that was a message. To outsiders, maybe it looked random. But to 50, that looked like a full-on chess move. Ross chilling with the son of the man who allegedly tried to take 50's life? Nay, that ain't no casual meetup. That's a power play. And the tension didn't stop there. Insiders started whispering that this wasn't just a flex for the gram. Nope, this might have been part of something way bigger. Word is, that meeting had real weight behind it. Not just for clout, but as a signal. A move on the board in a game where every step matters. To Padasat, that wasn't a coincidence. That was war strategy. And he saw it coming like a hawk watching from above. Looks like a setup's in motion. And word is, Supreme McGriff Jr. is done playing it cool. He's hit his limit, especially after 50 kept trolling Irv Gotti online, even after Irv passed. That kind of disrespect after death? Yeah, that hit deep. And now that Jay Prince is sliding into the mix too, this just leveled up, fast. See, this ain't just about 50 refusing to check in. This is about challenging a whole system that's been running in the streets for decades. Jay Prince, he's not just offended. He's reportedly out to make an example out of 50. Cause if 50 gets away with clowning those street codes, what's stopping every other rapper from doing the same? That whole check-in culture starts to look soft, and Jay ain't letting that happen on his watch.
Nigga like 50, there's only 4 niggas that I know personally in Queens that wasn't scared of Preem. 50, E-Money Bags, Homo, and Big Nose Troy.
And here's the part that should have 50 watching his back real close. Jay Prince ain't some industry exec with flashy chains. This man's got real street credentials, deep roots, heavy ties, connections that reach way beyond the rap game. His name? It's been floating through federal files since the late 80s. Back then, whispers said he had routes from Mexico pushing weight through Texas, Louisiana, and all the way to Chicago. We're not talking street corner hustle. This was major movement. Global level, organized, strategic, locked in like a cartel playbook. And it gets deeper. Around that same era, Jay allegedly formed a tight link with Larry Hoover, the founder of the Gangster Disciples. That bond, it created a pipeline stretching from Houston to the Midwest, and guess who was sitting right at the center? Jay Prince. So now, with Supreme Jr. fuming, Jay Prince circling, and past blood still boiling, 50's walking through a minefield. And this ain't a music beef anymore. It's a high-stakes street power game with roots that go back decades. Then, out of nowhere, Rap-A-Lot Records steps into the spotlight. On paper, it looked like a label built to uplift Houston's finest. But if you've been tapped into the streets, you already know the whisper's been loud for years. This was way more than just music. Word is, it was a front. A smooth operation to wash dirty street money, flip it clean, and funnel it through the industry. A hustle wrapped in beats and business. And guess what? The feds weren't sleeping. By 1988, the DEA had their sights locked on J. Prince and Rap-A-Lot. They were deep in, tapping phones, flipping drivers, staking out trap spots, and squeezing anyone tied to the circle. This wasn't some light probe. They were building a serious case. Then, boom, it all just vanished. By the late 90s, the investigation disappeared into thin air. No charges, no trial, no headlines, just silence. And let's be real, that don't just happen. You don't erase that kind of federal heat without some serious power in your pocket. That's not luck, that's influence on a whole other level. Now, fast forward to today. And 50 Cent might be poking the exact same bear that's been lurking in the shadows. Quiet, calculated, and dangerous. This bear don't roar, it bites. So you gotta ask, is 50 just being paranoid? Or is he the only one bold enough to say what everybody else is too shook to even whisper? Is there really a setup brewing behind closed doors? Or is this just a high-stakes clash of egos and empires? You tell us. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Who's playing who in this war? And yo, if you're feeling the heat, smash that like button, hit subscribe so you don't miss the next drop, and share this with someone who needs to know what's really going down. This story, it's far from over, and you already know we'll be right here to break every piece of it down. Catch you on the next one.